Habits. If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.
Good evening and welcome to episode 248 of the HHH Racing Podcast. I am your proud host, and as you can see on the bottom left-hand side of the screen, president of the Tappa Trice fan club, Howard Kravitz. Thanks for joining us tonight. We have quite a show for you, and what a sequence we're going to be talking about tonight. The Saturday late pick 5 at Keeneland is off the charts, fun and difficult, with great stake races and some big time horses. Can't wait to tell you all about it. Please make sure you subscribe on the bottom right hand side of the screen. And ladies and gentlemen, 14. You're wondering, what the hell's 14? That's how many subscribers we are away right now from 2,000. That's right. We're only 14 away from 2,000. If you have not hit that subscribe button, please make sure you do so. Also, of course, hit that notification bell so that you know when new content will arise, and also smash that like button. That will tell the YouTube algorithm, the YouTube robot, it'll send everyone to the HHH Racing Podcast who enjoys horse racing. So please make sure you do that as well. You can, of course, reach me on Twitter at @HKravitz, and on the bottom of the screen, hkravitzhorse@gmail.com. There it is right there is my email. And the next show will not be until next Wednesday, Bettin, Boozin. We're slowing down just a little bit to get you ready for Kentucky Derby week, which is going to be fantastic. A lot of live shows and a ton of information. Of course, you can listen to this show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. Power Picks, look down below the video player. Anyone out there score on Papilio at almost 6-1? Are you kidding? 13.98 is what it paid. Gotta love the penny breakage there in Kentucky. Again, excellent week for the Power Picks. And of course, Pete Visco has created a wonderful website. I take absolutely no credit for it. hhhracingpodcast.com with a whole bunch of information. All right, we've got a lot to talk about and some exciting co-hosts to bring on. A little surprise for some of you out there. So as some of you may or may not know, Paul Halloran, one of our great co-hosts from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and journalist for the Saratoga Special, is on assignment. Now, he may join us tonight, but I'm not expecting it. We do have his picks, but he is traveling to Lexington, Kentucky. I will be on a plane in about a little more than 24 hours to meet up with Paul as I'm competing in the Grade 1 Gamble on Saturday, which is a big live money contest. Kyle Roscoe will also be there along with a bunch of other people, so we're excited about that. So we have a little different lineup with our co-host. But first, he's almost always here. He's Mr. Reliable from the great state of Maryland, Mr. Pete Visco. Pete, how you doing tonight?
I'm good. I was pulling a Paul. I was on mute for an extra second, just in memory of Paul not being here tonight.
It's not too late for you, is it? I mean, I know it is about 8 o'clock there on the East Coast. So.
No. I think I can swing it. Yeah.
And making his HHH Racing Podcast flagship show debut, one of the fantastic co-hosts of Bettin, Boozin, and now he's going to be a co-host tonight on our show for the first time. Let's bring him on from the Ohio State University and from Deerfield, Illinois, Charlie Freeman. Charlie, how are the Suns going to be doing in this playoffs?
Yeah, I had to make sure to rep a shirt with them. They're gonna have a very good playoff run. I'm very excited to see them win the title this year. It's gonna be a big year.
I'm sure they are. Charlie, before we get started, and Pete, real quick, Charlie, for people that are not familiar with you, maybe only have seen you on Bettin and Boozin, very quickly, tell a little bit about yourself and how you got in to horse racing, and then I'll tell a very short story on how I actually met you, which was sort of interesting.
Yeah, for sure. So as Howard mentioned, I'm from Deerfield, Illinois. So Arlington, rest in peace, Arlington. But when it was still a going, about 30 minutes from me, 35. So yeah, I've been going there since as long as I can remember, like 3-4 years old. My uncle used to be a trainer and is very well connected, which you'll see with my picks a little bit later. Might be a little biased, but he's very well connected with the very famous trainer Wesley Ward. My grandpa also used to own a few horses. So yeah, I've been going to Arlington since about 3, 4, 5 years old, but then more seriously, I'd say like 8th grade into high school, I would go with a bunch of buddies. We would go from time to time over the weekends. Didn't know much about it, but then as I started to get older, my uncle taught me about how to read the program and understand it. And obviously, from him being a trainer, he had a ton of background. I've been to Gulfstream a lot more recently now because my grandpa lives in Florida a lot more year round. So yeah, for someone my age, I would say I have a decent amount of background in the horse racing industry.
No, Charlie has more than decent, guys. He has a lot of background. He's a smart young man. He's an excellent handicapper. He definitely knows his way around the PPs. If you've been paying attention to Bettin Boozin, you already know that. Few quick people in the chat just want to bring up Parker Kip. Parker, I'm not sure we've seen you. Pete, I think this is a new chat, right?
Yeah, I didn't recognize the name. Thanks for all the
Parker,
nice
welcome
comments,
to the show. If he's going to say nice things, we're definitely going to put Parker as comments on Pete.
We're very easy. Very easy. Very easy. Yeah.
Yeah, very easy. I've been rewatching past episodes. Howard is a ridiculously good handicapper.
Well, Parker's not that smart, apparently, but he's.
I think
we're happy that he's here. Yeah.
He's probably exaggerating, but I'll take it. And when the other guys have a strong opinion, they win quite often. Thanks a lot, Parker. Really appreciate that. Let's see. And also shout out to Matt Miller's appearance. Yes, with Chris Larmy, who's at Derby 1952. The best was amazing. Teaching me to have a goal for the day is life-changing. Yes, that podcast was excellent as well. Let's see, comments from Matt. Okay.
Did you send Matt his check for all the mentions? Did you'd send him his publicity check for the week for mentioning us so much on the podcast?
He did charge $5 every time he had to say HHH. So I do.
That's what I figured.
Quite a hefty check. You know, yeah. Matt, he's pretty cheap, but
Yeah.
No, we really appreciate the very nice comments from Matt Miller. Charlie, you should check that podcast. I'll actually send it to you because no matter anyone's age or experience, Pete, I don't know if you had a chance to listen to it all. The advice.
I didn't finish it yet, but yeah, it was great
long.
So far. Yeah.
We've heard a lot of it already on this show, but it was great. All right, let's see here. A few other things that I wanted to talk about as well. Oh, how did I meet Charlie? So I have two sisters, Pete. My eldest sister and Charlie's mother were best friends growing up. And Charlie's mother, Charlie actually and my childhood home is literally like 1,000 feet away from each other, like right around the corner. So I know, and so my sister was in town. She's in California. Went over to her, still very good friend's house, and I met. It was about a year ago, Charlie. Right? It was like the end of your high school, right?
Yeah. Because it was like I remember I met you like a few weeks before I left for Ohio State.
Yeah, and I met Charlie and. I don't know how we got into horse racing, but I think he mentioned, oh, you know what? I saw some PPs, Pete, on their dining room table. And I was like, ooh.
That'll do it.
I figured it was his father's or something. I didn't know Charlie at all. And Charlie said, no, I like looking at it. Long story short, we connected right away, obviously. Because, Pete, you don't meet a lot of 17-year-olds who are interested in horse racing, right? They're interested in a lot of things that are not appropriate for this podcast, probably. But,
well, hopefully Charlie's.
You'll find out with Jackson soon enough in a few years.
Hopefully
if
Charlie's
you haven't
into
already,
too. Yeah, I hope he's into that stuff too. But yeah, mine's a little young. Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. All right, guys. The first thing I'd like to do. So, Charlie, welcome to the show. He's going to do great. I'm excited. Thanks for coming on for a second night in a row, Charlie. Pete and Charlie. Here's what we're going to do. First thing we're going to do is we're going to bring up Pete's Derby top 10. I made it nice and big. Pete, you don't have to bring it up. I've got it already. And all we're going to do real quick is who is your Derby horse as of right now? That's all I'm going to ask you. If you can't narrow it down to one, you can say two. I'm going to show, and Pete, you can also talk about your Derby top 10, which is the first time some people have seen this is your, I guess, final top 10, at least for all the preps. Although, of course, we know there is a small prep on Saturday. So let me go ahead and bring this up for everyone right now. We're getting very quick conversation here, guys. Here it is right here coming up on the screen. There it is. I'll go full screen. Pete, who is there? If you want to talk about your top 10 quickly and also mention your top Derby horse right now.
Yeah, so this is something I've been doing. I know it's funny because some people on Twitter hate these top 10s and stuff, but I was doing it more for fun and just to put it out there. And plus it sort of helps you in your own mind organize who you like, who you don't like throughout the course of the prep season. So for me, I've actually looking at it, I think I have about 8 or so horses that I think logically you could make a good case for to win the Derby. Maybe 10, but I think 8. And for me right now, if I had to place a win bet today, it would be on Angel of Empire.
And what kind of odds do you think you'll get, Pete, on the day would be your guess?
On the day, I'm going to guess, I'm thinking, I don't know,
Low
between
teens?
12 to 15. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I was thinking. I think we've seen in Vegas a little bit. It's around 16, but I think it could maybe, it'll drift and sort of go between there somewhere. But I'm not a win better guarantee. Like, I don't look at the Derby and say I have to find a horse to bet to win. I don't think that way for the Derby. But if you get a horse that's double digits, then it makes sense.
Charlie, we really haven't had a chance to talk to you about your, the Kentucky Derby top picks. Obviously, you guys talk about a lot of horses on Bettin and Boozin, which, by the way, has been growing tremendously, Pete, and they're doing a great job with the viewership. And, of course, the chat is extremely lively on Bettin and Boozin, as it is here. We have a lot of fun. Charlie, what do you think about this top 10 list? And, by the way, Charlie, we want to hear your opinions, all right? So you could, listen, we know you're full of opinions. Pete can handle it. I want to hear you guys banter back and forth. It's going to be all good because you guys are both, have strong opinions. So any thoughts on this top 10 list, Charlie, and who is your Derby win bet right now on whom?
Yeah, so I am going to pull a little bit of a Kyle the Chalk Eating Weasel right here, and I am going to stick with Forte for now. I was very impressed with Forte's last performance. I know that it ended up having to be more of gutting it out, but I kind of like to see that in a horse where you are just seen as the dominant favorite that can't be touched, but still managed to find a way. And I love those closers. So I am sticking with Forte. However, I am happy that Pete finally showed some respect to Mage because that was a horse that I was high on. I know one of the races that we covered on Bettin and Boozin when Mage went up against Forte earlier, that none of them gave Mage any respect. I was the only one gassing it up. It was a horse with pretty much no experience, nothing really known about it, but I saw something in that horse. So that would definitely be an underneath and maybe a long shot that I would plan. And then I also thought Two Fills looked very, very impressive. That was another race we covered where I had Two Fills in it. And I remember I watched Two Fills go up against Instant Coffee like a while back when Instant Coffee won. And I saw that potential, though, with Two Fills. And I just thought if that horse could take the next step forward, it could be a horse come Kentucky Derby time that could be dangerous at a price. So I think if it keeps taking steps forward, I'd say Two Fills and Mage are the two I would look towards if you don't want to go with the favorite. Those are two horses that excite me at a price.
Both very interesting. I actually had Mage on top on this show and had a pick 5 with Mage and Forte. Obviously, I was cheering for Mage to hold on, Charlie, but he's interesting. He's definitely, I don't know about on top, but definitely interesting underneath for sure. And Pete, Angel of Empire could absolutely win this thing. I have a very short list of horses that I think can flat out win the race. Angel of Empire is probably one of only like 4 that I think can realistically win the race, at least in my opinion. Of course, there's post positions and workouts and a zillion things that we will get to. Steve Pogel, good evening. Just want to say thank you to me. I appreciate that, Steve. I hit what I like to call the Howard back wheel try. Oh, good.
Nice.
In the Aqueduct 6th today, it's become my favorite bet, and I was a serial horizontal player. Don't tell Paul Halloran, Steve, you've left the keep playing the horizontal, Steve, but the back wheel is an excellent. The key is an excellent play. It's a verse key if you like a horse. I was watching a little bit of the pick 6 today. I didn't bet it at Aqueduct, but I think there were some prices. So, Steve, congratulations.
Hey, Howard, real quick, just for the listeners or the viewers, that top 10 list that you just showed is also on the front page of our website in case anybody wants to check it out in more detail. I added it there, so it'll be up there for the next 3 weeks. And then if anything weird happens, like if we get any top 10 type defections or injuries, knock on wood, we don't have that, we can also update it just to say, hey, here's what we're thinking now in case anything changes.
Racing downwind, Charlie, is Mage at 18. Is that big enough for you for a win bet, Charlie? How do you feel about that?
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. I would definitely sprinkle on it. I agree with what you said, more of an underneath horse, but it'd be hard for me to not at least throw $5 on it underneath or $10. Why not? Or, why not? A little win bet.
Absolutely. Last thing very quickly before we get into the Keeneland pick 5. I'm going to be down there this weekend. If anyone's going to be at Keeneland this weekend, please hit me up on DM or email me, and I'll try to find you at the track. I'm going to be there Saturday and Sunday for most of the card as well. I have an early evening flight, and anyone knows Keeneland or Lexington, the airport is literally like 6 blocks away from the track. So I plan on leaving the track as late as possible. And it's a pretty small airport, guys. So everything TSA is real easy, and I have pre-check and blah, blah, blah. So I can literally leave the track 50 minutes before the flight and have no problem getting on the flight. So if you're going to be in the Lexington area or at the track, I'd love to meet up with you. I know there's a few people that are already doing that. Last thing, also Jeff Amster. Pete, you might know that name. Sometimes he's in the chat. I just want to let everyone know. Very cool. Just found out today. Jeff Amster made a donation to TRF guys on in the name of myself, the podcast, and Matt Miller. So Jeff Amster, thank you very much for donating to the Thoroughbred Retirement Foundation on behalf of the podcast. That was really nice of you to do. I will email you personally as well, but I want to make that public. Now, one of the main reasons I'm going, guys, because the grade 1 gamble. It is a $3,500 entry, which is much bigger than I normally play, but it's one of those sort of majors, Charlie. It's like the Masters or the US Open. I mean, there's only a few events that are that big for live money. And also I was invited to go down to Keeneland, although you could play it online. It's $2,500 live monies in your bankroll, guys. So my only piece of advice for anyone that is interested in tournament play or live money, and Matt Miller is the one who's talked about a lot on this show, pick your spots. Pick your spots. There are minimums. I think it's 4 races of 500 each, I believe, or 5 races of 400 each are the minimum. So there are minimums you have to fill. Pick your spots, whether it's pounding a double or a try or a win bet or whatever you want to do. I will give my opinions in this pick 5, guys. I will not give my strategy for the grade 1 gamble. There's too much on the line, like NHC and BC seats and whatnot, but I will certainly give my honest opinions on these races. Last thing, Matt Miller. It's good karma and feels amazing. TRF is a nice way to bank profits forever. Brad Anderson, another BC winner. Nice gesture, Jeff Amster. Way to go. Appreciate it. All right, guys, let's get into the pick 5. This pick 5, Pete, I already tweeted out yesterday. Charlie's shaking his head. We threw Charlie into the fire. Pete, this pick 5 is, whoa, difficult, I thought.
Yeah, there's no gimmies. I mean, I don't have a gimme. I don't know if we'll get to the races and we'll see if you guys do, but I didn't think there was. I was struggling. I was ready to go 3-4 deep in every race, so trying to get to the pick 5 budget was difficult. At least Charlie, you get a little more budget here maybe than you do on Bettin and Boozin, so you can spread it out a little bit if you want.
Oh yeah, I needed it. No, right when I saw this card, I was like, we are not fitting a Bettin and Boozin budget on these.
No, not on this one.
No. Now I do have Paul's picks, guys. Paul, thanks for sending that in. Again, he may show, he may not. I don't think he will, guys. He's traveling and busy, and so I don't think he'll be on tonight. But you never know with Paul. Pete, he could call from the car. He could be.
Anywhere.
He could be at Tapatrace's. He could be right next to him when he. Who knows what's going on with him? Here we go, guys. The first race of the pick 5 starts in race 7, 4:12 Eastern Standard Time. It is an allowance on dirt, mile and a 16th, $110,000 in the kitty. This is an N1X. You see some familiar names here. It's an 8-horse field. The favorite is the number 1, Barber Road, who was a popular closing 3-year-old last year for John Ortiz and Raylu Gutierrez, coming off his fantastic efforts at the fairgrounds as the winning jockey for the meet. Charlie, we're going to put your feet to the fire. How about we're going to go to Charlie right away first. He is going with the number 8 Master Game for Forster and Louis Saz on the outside, 7-2 morning line. What does he like about this horse, Charlie, as I go ahead and bring up the PPs here?
Yeah, so what really caught my eye about Master Game, aside from the fact that its last 2 workouts have obviously been pretty sharp, honestly, pretty much all of its workouts have been fairly sharp, so I like seeing that consistency. But it was also just that huge step up in the speed figures. With the 265s, obviously, in a field like this, concerning because that's clearly not going to cut it. But then to jump up to a 90 and an 83 to show that, obviously, 2 back, it starts on the front, it's up 6 lengths. And then it got nailed late, unfortunately, but it got all the way to the lead. You start to wonder, does it need to be on the lead? But then you look at its next race, and yeah, it didn't have the best start, but it's 5 lengths and change off the lead and is able to finish going away. So for me, I just like that it shows the horse has some versatility. Obviously, you can see that it might prefer going to the front, but that it also has no issue starting off the pace and then making that move. The speed figures are decent. I know the competition might not necessarily be the greatest that it's at, but I also love Louis Saz as a jockey. I think this is a very decent spot for this horse.
Dang, what you got notes in front of you, Charlie? He came prepared, Pete. That was
when you're young, you can remember stuff a lot more. Not like us, where your mind just goes to crap every 5 minutes. Hey, Charlie, the one thing I liked about this horse too was there's actually reason. You could sort of pinpoint reasoning behind maybe the buyer jump. So you see it's off the claim, and it's the 2 races where he stretched out to route races. So I like when you can look at something and say, I wonder why maybe this horse improved, and it could be a combination of the claim and the stretch out. So that sort of fits into where he could maybe improve still going off that.
Pete, I think Mark Cassidy is scratching his head, who's a fantastic trainer. Like, what did I not find out about this horse with, because Grant Forrester has certainly figured out. You've got this horse second, Pete. I have this horse third. This horse can absolutely win. Let's go to your 4, Pete. Number 4, who you're the only one on the screen that actually has this horse, which I'll tell you what, I didn't know what to do with him. I have him in the mix. I have him as a B as in boy. Principe Dioro for Pletcher and Irad, Juddmonte, Winchell. Just because the connections, Pete, this horse cannot be 6-1 in this race. He's going to be, and I love Nick Tamro, who does the morning lines. I think he's fantastic in every way. I think this horse is more like 4-1, 9-2, but I'm not sure he deserves to be lower. What is it you like about this horse?
Well, a couple things. I mean, the connections don't hurt, obviously, and I like the pickup of Irad. The other thing I liked, and I was the same with you. I sort of, all these 4 my top 4 were sort of a blanket finish for who was going to make my top 3. But the one thing I did like is this horse is speed, and last time didn't hold, but that was also off a layoff of however many months that turns out to be. What's that, about 10-month layoff? So you could tell maybe wasn't super sharp. Now you get Irad, you have Pletcher, second off the layoff, and there's not a ton of pace in this race. I mean, there are horses who have gone on the lead, but they're maybe not as fast. So if this one with Irad can get on the lead, get comfortable, it's a $650,000 purchase. Once he moved to the turf, he sort of just stepped his game up. So I'm looking at it that way, where if a lot of these things come together and this horse is pretty good and improves, then he's right there in the mix. And if for some reason you get a half decent price, then you're looking pretty good.
Yeah, Pete said move to the turf. He meant move to the dirt.
Move off the turf to the dirt. Yeah, my bad.
The reason why it cost $650, Dame Dorothy, the dam was a very nice distance. Yeah. This horse must have been ouchy. There've been issues, obviously, Pete.
Had to be something.
He's only made, but does he still have upside? Probably. But I think the pace situation, to your point, is crucial. My only concerns, I have 2 concerns. One is he hasn't gotten the job done at low prices. Number 2, it is his first time. Actually, it's not his first time 2 turns. First time 2 turns on dirt. So he can win.
But I like the breeding. I like the breeding for 2 terms too. I mean,
if he gets loose, I think he can absolutely.
Yeah, if he gets loose, yeah.
Oh, for sure. Let's talk about my topic. And I got to say, I'm not. And Ross Blacker, I'm going to answer your question. I'm not overly proud of this pick. It's not very sexy. It's sort of boring. Here's my thought, guys, with Barber Road. Last time, Rayleigh was much more aggressive. And if you look at when Rayleigh was ridden this horse, guys, you see he's ridden him down here. He rode him during the 3-year-old Derby Trail and rode him very well. And he was a deep closer, if you guys remember, at that time. And he was really very blah, recently. And then Rayleigh jumped on him again, and he decided to be more aggressive with him from the rail and ran a big number. Now, I know this race well, guys, the last race, because that was NHC weekend, and that was actually a race that a lot of people in the room bet, and were actually hoping that Barber Road had lost because he was only 2-1, and Icarus came over the top and won at like 10-1. So I remember that race well. He was pressured. You see the red-coated numbers there. We've talked about that, Pete, a lot on this show. You mentioned the pace situation this race, and Ross Blacker asked me about the pace. I think Rayleigh's going to be aggressive again. He's either going to take the lead, or he's going to let probably Prince of the 4 go to the lead, or maybe even the 8 send. I think he's just going to sit a real good trip and just look to his right, and see what happens. Just no one in this field, Pete and Charlotte, scares me. I mean, this is not a horse normally I would pick, but with the rail and Rayleigh, and I think he's maybe getting back to his form. Charlie, this just seems like an obvious horse to at least use. You've got him second, Charlie.
Yeah, I mean, as I talked about what I liked about the 8, you want to talk about a horse that is working well. I mean, my God, 47-2, 47-2, 46-4, 48-3.
Yeah.
They've got this horse back in form, at least from a training perspective, looks the part. Yeah, and like you said, I mean, look, I love myself some closers, but I think this horse doesn't need to necessarily be on the lead. But I think now that as you mentioned, it was ridden more aggressively, I think it would benefit a lot from being more in a stalker position and maybe not being all the way at the back, since it would be on the rail. That isn't the best spot for a closer if you get all scrunched back up in there. So I do think if they go with more of a stalking row, maybe sit him right behind the 4, 100% could see the 1 win in this race. Personally, depending on its price, I wouldn't bet it on its own, because while I don't think there's any clear-cut threat, I also don't think there's any clear-cut winner. But I do think there's a lot of legitimate horses. But I think an underrated horse is the horse that I have in third and you have in second. The only concern I have with that horse, and we touch on it, is the layoff. That's the only reason I didn't have the 7 any higher than third.
We're going to talk about the 7 for 30 seconds, Charlie. The other thing I want to mention, Pete, maybe Barber Road just wants a fast track. I mean, the 2 and 3rd race back were some of his lower buyers other than the Belmont. If you toss out the Belmont, and you toss out the comeback race. I mean, I guess I'm making too many excuses for him, but I just think he's better on a dry track.
No, he was a tough one to leave off, because I'm the same as you. I've probably bet him more times than you wanted to in the past, and he disappoints. But
Tepu's off a big layoff, but Brendan Walsh is not bad off these layoffs, Charlie. He's a new gelding, but he's got upside too, Charlie. That was my thought. I just want someone some upside, and some of these horses that have run a bunch, I don't know. They just don't do a lot for me. Charlie, any final thoughts on the 7 you were talking about real quick?
No, I took the same angle as you. I like the speed figures, and I kind of thought what you thought. For me personally, the only 2 horses with recent form that excited me were the 1 and the 8. So I kind of had the same thought. Like, why not look for someone who, they haven't raced in a while, but when they did, their form is very respectable and could be good enough to win this race. So why not throw a little bit of a flyer in the 7 that you could also probably get a decent price, because I'm sure there's going to be people that are going to be scared about that layoff.
Yeah, I've got 1, 4, 7, 8 guys. If it's something else there, if the 2 wins, I lose. I'll be out of the pick 5 at that point. Let's go on to race 8.
Oh God,
Pete, remember last weekend there was a race called the Shakertown, and we were looking at ourselves saying, "Wow, what a cluster race this is!" Of course, we got wired by the favorite Caratori, and I literally had a bad beat with Bad Beat Brian.
Caravel, by the way.
Caravel. I'm sorry. What is it? Caratori. Sorry. It was actually a nice horse too.
Yeah.
You get mixed up with those C names. Pete, this Giants Causeway, which is the Philly version basically of last week, holy shit. I mean, this race is incredibly difficult, I thought. Here's the banners. Let me bring up the conditions there. It's 5.5 furlongs, $250,000 is a big purse. That's why there's a big field. 3-year-olds and up, fillies and mares. The field is 12. There's also 3 also eligible, just in case someone scratches. Morning line favorite, I got to find it. Is it Happy Soul? Yeah, I guess it is Happy Soul.
Yeah, I think so.
Wow.
Yeah.
Number 3, Happy Soul. Wesley Ward, Johnny V. You can see on the bottom of the screen. I'll flip it over. Pete, you're going to go first. You and I are thinking alike, Pete. And when in doubt, you know what? Go with the Illinois bred. I'm sure that's what Charlie always thinks when he handicaps races. The number 4, Orfev, is not your normal Illinois bred, Pete. This is a really nice horse.
No, this horse is nice. And this is another one where, I mean, this horse is great on dirt, turf. It doesn't matter. You go 5.5, you go 6.5. This horse just shows up and runs. And I mean, you could see in the lifetime, 15 out of 16 in the money. So you always get your money's worth when you play this horse. The thing I like here, I mean, if you look, and we always do this on here, if you say, okay, if we wiped away the dirt races and you look just at the turf races, you could see there's form that's still improving. So comes back at 4 at 5.5, which we're at today, where this horse is 4 for 4 wins at 5.5, comes back, gets a win, first race of the year, 89 buyer, jumps up, gets another win, 92 buyer. So just improving. I mean, loves the distance. Obviously hasn't been at the track necessarily, but that's okay. I'm not too worried about that. And then the one thing there's 2 things I didn't like. One, the only not bad race, but the race where it didn't win in the last 10 was off Lasix. Now the horse also didn't break great, was in the back, was sort of out of its out of her comfort zone there. So maybe that more had to do with it. But I always get a little concerned when you see a race without Lasix, and we're having one here, no Lasix again. And then the other thing was just, I had a good stat. Chris Block and Loveberry combined 41% wins, 65% in the money in non-graded stakes turf races. So those are monster numbers on a really good horse who always runs her race. So I don't think we can go wrong, especially if we get, say, 9-2 or a price anywhere in that range.
My one concern is the fairgrounds turf. We had a horse, Mr. Last week, Pete, and yeah. I know these are completely different horses, and maybe this is stinking thinking and a bad analogy, Pete, but I think it is fair to say that some of these fairgrounds turf horses do need to prove themselves outside of fairgrounds, because that turf horse was, but this horse fits by every measure. I mean, he's maybe a tad slow, but we're talking like a length maybe. I mean, not very much at all.
Not by much. And there's improvement.
Trip dependent, and it seems to me that that Block has been pointing to the spot, which I like that a lot. Like, he's gotten some time off since his last race, and there's no reason. Love This Kitten was a very nice dam. Charlie might know that name because that horse ran at Arlington quite a bit. So, I mean, I don't see any reason why this horse can't get the job done. Now, Charlie...
The works are really sharp, too. I was just going to say the works are really sharp. You couldn't see him on the screen, but the works have been sharp ever since that last race, too. So still looks to be in form also.
Been working out at the Saratoga of the Midwest, Hawthorne Racecourse.
I mean,
proud sponsor, proud sponsor of this show, of course. Jim Miller will be on later, by the way. All right. How did I know Charlie was going to go with a Wesley Ward in this race? Now, Charlie... I have this horse third. Pete has this horse nowhere. Paul has this horse nowhere. I know we have mad love for Wesley Ward. I know he's good off layoffs. He has one turf number, which was excellent. I guess you think he's just going to do it again. Is that what you're thinking here?
So for me, the layoff was a concern, but then I looked at the work and I saw that it had the 5 furlongs in a minute. So I love that bullet work because that shows that this horse is probably feeling itself. I also really trust Wesley in that. I think if it's off this big of a layoff and he's putting this horse in this difficult of a spot where the field is that stacked, I think he knows what he's doing. I don't think he's just trying to throw it into the lines and say, oh, you might finish like 7th, 8th and have a rough first one back. I think he likes the horse in this spot. And yeah, I am kind of banking on that, to be honest. I think that if you do look at the figure and you look at how the horse ran, and also you look at the price it was at, so clearly it's not like it was a race where it was maybe one of those, those Wesley Ward favorites that goes to the lead and couldn't get the job done. No, it wasn't expected to get the job done and nearly did in its debut on turf. So I am expecting that Wesley realizes, the horse is back off the layoff. It's working well. I think the distance won't be a problem for this horse. I think it'll be better on the turf. And I do actually also think it'll get a better price because I actually think mainly because Irad is on the 10. I think that could end up being the Wesley horse that gets bet more because Irad's on it. So
where's your love for the other? I thought you'd go Wesley Ward Warrior. By the way, Pete, I don't know if you caught that. He's on a first name basis apparently with Mr. Ward.
Hey, why not? I mean, he said he tipped off his hand in his little preliminary talk there. I mean, he tipped off that all the Wesleys. Real quick though, before we go to the 10 on the 3, because I had the 3 as an A also when I first went through. A couple things that scared you off just a touch were the sire Run Happy, obviously 4 for 70 on the win end in turf sprints, and the dam side Cowgirl Lucky in a smaller sample size, but 0 for 5 in turf sprints. So when I was trying to nitpick between horses that I all thought were pretty much on the same level, I was like, maybe that's something that I could point against in a race like this where I love probably half the field.
He also had that big number, Charlie, on what we call the 25 turns and hills of Kentucky Downs, which is a really weird, quirky track. Where's Twilight Gleaming in your picks, Charlie? I mean, this is a really nice filly.
Yeah, I don't know. It wasn't doing it for me. I really didn't want to double dip and show the bias. I was trying to show because, again, there's a strong field of love.
All right.
And even more boldly, it's not even on my ticket when we get to that later. I really want to get this 10 horse.
I actually agree with you. Now, Pete, you're going to have to fire back because I have her in the mix. Maybe an A, I'll see. I'd like to think the distance might be an issue, but I don't know. Every time I try to poo-poo Wesley Ward on these layoff horses, Pete, I seem to get burned. But he's got another one in here. It's just, I don't know. It's a little weird to me. But you've got her second.
I mean, I do. And by the way, we're going to call Wesley and tell him that Charlie's sort of, sleeping on him today a little bit with one of his good horses. But I mean, you look at this horse, and again, I'm looking at a race where I have 5 or 6 that I think are basically all have about the same shot to win. So I look at this one and think, whenever you're picking up IRAD, that's always a plus. I mean, this IRAD at least and rode this horse as well, including the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint win. So at least IRAD is familiar with the horse. The horse is 6 for 7 at the distance. The buyers are a little light. I don't like that. There wasn't a ton of improvement over the course of 2022, but maybe we see that 3 to 4 year old improvement this time, and maybe that one takes a step forward. But again, to me, there's 5 or 6 that are just sort of on that same level. So you just have to pick them and rank them. But I don't think this one has any more of a shot than the other ones I like.
Charlie, yourself, Paul, and myself, we all have Amy C second. Real quick, Charlie, this is a horse coming from California, which some people would take as a negative, a turf horse coming east, because the better turf horses are, in the East and Midwest. Also, she was down the hill, and I think, Pete, she was scratched out of a race last week, if I recall.
Yeah, I had her. Right? She was my top pick in that race last week. So I was actually disappointed that she scratched that.
I find it interesting that I think they were forced to scratch, right? Wasn't that after that incident, and then they had to.
I didn't even see. I saw it late, okay, so I didn't even know anything happened.
Anyway, Charlie, this is a horse that's turning back in distance. Might work out real well for D'Amato and Rispoli.
Yeah, I love it at this price. I don't think we'll get that good of a price. Maybe I'm wrong, and I would take it in a heartbeat. But again, another horse that is just working incredibly well. I love the stalking trip potential for this horse, the speed figures in its last 2 races. And I mean, and the fact that it took such a big layoff from October to January and still went out and won and ran that good of a figure excites me. Yeah, no, I don't disagree. The fact that it is a California horse where I also don't know as much about him and I'm not used to working with them with as much certainly makes this horse a wild card. And for me is why I didn't have it in first, because if you just blurred out where it was running, I would have probably put it as my top pick, but I don't know as much or trust the California horses as much. But I do think this is a horse with a lot of potential that could get disrespected on the board, that's run good figures, but does also need the right stalking trip.
Yeah, so that race was taken off the turf, Pete. It was after the incident on the long distance race where the turf was really slippery, and then they turf races. The last thing I want to real quick. Anyone know this horse? If you are a subscriber to the Power Picks, if you are a subscriber to the Power Picks, or you watch my videos, I touted Little Jewel about as much as someone could tout last time, and he won and came through at 8-1. This is a massive step up on Saturday, guys, and he's got an outside post. Little Jewel is very talented. I don't think Saturday is the day, but if Little Jewel outruns his odds and finishes like second or third at like 12-15-1, do not be surprised. This is a very talented horse. All right, guys, let's get on. We also mentioned Star Divine on the outside. Hit the all button if you can, or whatever. Use as many as you can.
By the way, quirky little stat on a Little Jewel. Vacarezza is last 3 non-graded stakes turf races, all wins, whatever that means. So
there you go. I don't know how this race is not graded. By the way, it's crazy.
I mean, it runs like one. It runs like one.
It's insane.
Yeah.
I guess they can't grade everyone. All right, guys. Speaking of graded stakes, this is the big one. Well, I don't know what the big one of the day is. I think maybe it's this one just because it's 3-year-old boys. But the Lexington Stakes, we'll bring up on the screen right now. Let me go ahead and switch the banners. There we go. This is the very last. I mean, the very last opportunity to get points. I think it's 20. I should know, Pete. What is it? 20, 5.
Yeah, something like that.
I don't even know, guys. Sorry, I should know. But it's a grade 3, $400,000. Mile to 16. Someone in the chat will let us know the points. This is a big field, a field of 11. These morning lines really surprised me, I have to say. The morning line favorite, who I do not think will be the morning line, the favorite at post time at all, but maybe I'm wrong, is the number 5, First Mission, who is 3-1, according to Nick Tamro's morning line. Pete, we're going to go to you first. You're going to go with the 3, Demolition Duke. This is one of several sort of up-and-coming horses. This one was coming from the fairgrounds. Cox has, 2 in this race? Yeah, he's got 2 in this race. He also has First Mission. You like the other Cox, so to speak, Demolition Duke, at 6-1.
Yeah, actually, I have the two Cox horses, 1, 2. Actually, the funny thing when I'm looking at the picks for the first time is none of the three of us, Paul does, don't have Disarm, who's
Nope.
the only horse who's actually shooting for points to get in the Derby, and
Yep.
we don't even have that horse in the top 3, which I think is pretty interesting. Demolition Duke here. I was actually just going maybe with the price a little bit too, but I mean you pick up Pratt, which is always great, and I love that, especially on a horse that you get a little price into. This one closed or sits off 2 really slow paces in its first. Well, the last one was really, really slow. The first one was moderate to slow, but then lost to Bishop's Bay, who also beat First Mission in First Mission's debut. So that's actually a Cox horse who was a big chalk in both those races, who's really good. And also in Demolition Duke, beat the horse, came back in his debut. He beat the horse who next out ran a 91 buyer and got a win, a nice win too. I think there's enough pace in here for the 3 to sit off and close into, and Pratt can be patient here. Yeah, if you look at Bishop's Bay, I mean, that looks like based on the breeding, it's Cox. It looks like a good horse, Spendthrift. So it wasn't, and it beat the two of the horses that we like here in this in the Lexington. So it's not chopped liver. So I just like this horse, and I think you're just getting. I'm sort of like just getting the price. Cox is good. He's won this race in 2019, 2022. He's great at Keeneland. So anytime I can have those connections with a horse who's up and coming, only in his 3rd race, against a field that I don't look at anybody in this field as anything super special. So I think this one is enough on the improve to maybe take him down. And if we can get 6-1, I would love it.
I've got him as a B. I don't love the way he was on the wrong lead. He was a little bit goofy in the stretch, but listen, he was only his 2nd start.
I mean, second start.
It was first time going long, Pete. So it was a learning experience, right?
Yeah.
This is a step up, but I agree with you. Well, I'll wait for my strong opinions in just a moment. Myself, Charlie, and Paul, we all have First Mission. Charlie, what do you like about this Godolphin-owned horse who is the morning line favorite? But I got to say again, I would be shocked, Charlie, if Disarm or Arabian Lion on the outside is not the favorite come post time. I really would be surprised.
So maybe I'm crazy, because when I was reading this before the odds came out, I thought this would be the clear-cut favorite. I was never going to go this bold, but I was getting ready to go 2 or even 1 deep and just ride this 5 horse. I love everything about the 5. The 47-4 workout, obviously very strong. A minute flat earlier on. I love what I've seen from the progress. 2 great races with the figures. Almost got there against, as you mentioned, a very good horse in Bishop's Bay. And then in its next race, probably could have won by more if it wanted to, and just ran them out of the building with a very solid time. I think this horse had more in the tank. I think it certainly in its first race, I mean, again, it was only its debut and still looked that good. I think it needed more distance, which it got in its next race and really looked strong. I don't think this is a horse that needs to be on the lead. I think it can sit right off that pace and run away. I love this 5 horse. I love Luis Saez on this horse as well. I really feel strongly about the 5 in this race.
Welcome to one of the new co-hosts of the flagship show. Charlie, you must have read my mind. I like this horse a lot. The reason why I don't think he's going to be the favorite, Charlie, is because of I know it's Cox and Saez, but Disarm is like that sexy horse, Pete, that needs the points. And people are going to say he's going to try really hard. And then you got the Baffer on the outside who's got bigger numbers. And I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'm wrong.
I mean, I hope those 2 are the favorites. I don't like either one of them. I hope they both get bet down. I mean, that would be fantastic.
I actually like I like Arabian Lion even more than Disarm, but I'll get to that in a second. Pete, you talked about the first race. First Mission ran huge. Didn't break great, by the way. We can't show these fairgrounds replays, Charlie, but we are going to show some replays before we're done. First Mission didn't break great. Went in between horses, made a big move late. The last race, I will say, Charlie, he was facing nothing. It was a bad field, but that 89, Pete, could have been a 94.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even look twice.
He was in cruise control the entire length of the stretch, Charlie. It was an absolute joke. So he's got to work out a trip. I guess it's a step up in class, blah, blah, blah. Disarm, guys. I hate this, quick turnaround, Pete, trying to get your Derby points. And this Lexington Stakes, Pete, to me, is one of the toughest Lexington Stakes I've seen in a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Remember my boy Jack from several years ago, who actually won this race 8-5, barely. Usually we see a sort of a crappy field, horses that are, stepping up their game. Horses like your horse on top in First Mission, these are horses to me that are as talented as half the Derby field. I mean,
Oh, for
I think
sure.
this is a very difficult Lexington Stakes.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, when you look at it, you're used to this being a little bit of a disappointment that you don't really care about. Now, we don't necessarily care about it from a Derby standpoint, but just as an individual independent race, I mean, I think it's fantastic top to bottom. I think there's a ton of horses in here you could make really logical cases for. But I agree with you that Disarm is the one you're going to read the articles.
Oh, the
thank you, Jeffrey.
Thanks, there we go. 28 coming 6'4" too. Come
28.
on. Jesus.
And I mean, the points only matter for Disarm, right? At this point, I don't think anyone else.
Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, that is correct.
So I think that, there's been articles about Disarm. So maybe that leads to Disarm taking more money. And obviously the Baffert side on the 11 could always lead to some money.
I agree with Roshan. I think First Mission can be third choice, guys. I really do. I mean,
I'm with Charlie, though. Charlie, I was with you, Charlie. When I went through it, I was like, oh, man, First Mission looks like he should be the chalk to me. Like I thought just on form and everything on the page, forgetting all the other crap, I looked at First Mission as the one that I thought would be the favorite or should be the favorite.
Guys, Irad Baffert, how does this horse not take a ton of money? I mean, he's been working great. I've got two issues, Pete, with him, but Charlie and Pete, I'll let you talk. Charlie, you have him third. I've got him third. Paul's in third. Pete says F him. I don't have him anywhere. Pete, why don't you go ahead first? Why nowhere? What's your?
I mean, I just don't think this horse wants to route. So I think that this is the one where this is hopefully, we hate when we watch these horses do things that they're not supposed to be doing. And the Derby season has that effect on some of these, on everybody, the trainers, the owners, whoever. I mean, these connections here don't really give a crap. They do whatever they want. They got plenty of horses, plenty of money. I just don't think this one wants to route. I think he's a sprinter. I think he needs to shorten up. And I think this is the kind of race where he's going to get bet on connections and name, and he's fast and all that stuff. But again, we talk about the Justify horses, 4 for 62 dirt routing, 1 for 23, 8.5 furlongs and up. The Justify horses did run well at Keeneland, so you have maybe that to fall on, but should be on the lead. But I think hopefully sets a hot pace. There's other speed in here, and we can get some of these off the pace horses to run them down.
Charlie, if this horse doesn't get the lead, I wouldn't trust him with a 10-foot pole, and he's got the outside post. There's other speed. And even if he does get the lead, there's no guarantee. I will say Baffert has been quoted and say the horse is working well, that they might go to the Preakness, Charlie, if he runs well. So they still have high hopes for this horse.
Yeah, I mean, look, the reality is with Irad and with Bob Baffert, I couldn't risk not including this horse somewhere in case it beats me. I can't stand this horse, to be honest. Goes off as a huge, huge favorite all the time and never gets the job done. I'm not a speed horse guy, especially in long distance. I know this horse is going to end up being one that gets way down and falls apart. I'm hoping everybody hammers that horse in that sorry Derby horse that's trying to sneak its way in after that short layoff. I would love for the 5 to just not get bet. Please.
We just lost the Steve Asperson interview, Pete. You just called Disarm horse.
I have this. I love the 3 for 67.
This ain't Twitter, Charlie. Easy now. This ain't Twitter.
3 for 67 in graded stakes at Keeneland. So I love to toss an Asmussen horse. I love it.
I'm coming with the heat, but I don't believe in the 11. I don't believe in the 6, but I'm begging people to bet on them. I know we're talking more about a pick 5, but look, if I want to bet this race on its own, please let me get that 5 at a price I don't deserve it at. I will take it any day. And it certainly doesn't help. We don't need people watching the show, though, because Matt's agreeing with me. Howard's agreeing with me. If everybody sees the show, we might mess up and get the 5 beat. That's always the favorite. So we need to just edit out the clips and just gas up the 6 and 11 and let everybody take them and lose.
I think Disarm Pete's going to run a great second or third. But I don't give a crap about that. I'm a horizontal
we're
player.
Here for winning.
If he finishes second by a nose, I'm right. I don't like this horse.
That's the way I look at it. Yeah.
I know he ran the 90, but anyway, we're going to move on. But any quick thoughts on Empire Strikes Fast, and then we're going to go to the next race, Pete. All this horse did was beat the horse that why am I losing? Dreamlike
ran well in the wood.
Close third in the wood. Now you can poo-poo the wood if you want. This is a very talented horse with the Tourney, and Mott is sending him into the Wolves. Just for me, this is a big ask, but he's very talented.
I mean, I had the horse as an A just on, I think, on ability
Wow.
alone. I mean,
Okay.
Again, this was a race where I liked a lot of horses. I mean, I basically go through and I just assign it whether I think it's a 1, 2, or 3 or a toss. Yeah. And I had a bunch of horses on the top line, and I like this one. I mean, second best buyer in the field on debut. That's impressive right from the start. I mean, like you said, beat Dreamlike, who came back and sort of flattered that form. I mean, it was 24-1. That usually freaks you out when the horse wins at a long price and then they come back. But with maidens, who the hell knows? I mean, it's their first time out. Not every horse gets the respect they should have. I think this one maybe can sit off just a touch. Again, Arabian Lion's going. So if you could sit off there. We love Tourney here. This is the Italian show. So we love when Tourney jumps on a horse. So that's great. I did have Bill Mott, 2 for 28, second career starters who won winners last out. So when they won their first start, come back 2 for 28, which is odd on dirt races. That's an odd stat to me. But, I looked at it and said, hey, you got to, again, these horses are razor thin, I think, form wise next to each other. So if you're going to scratch a couple, you got to use whatever you can to sort of differentiate.
Yeah, well, Mott's not good first time out either. That's why he's 24-1. He's not an early win kind of guy. So
when you overcome
that stat, that even points this horse's talent. Guys, we got to move on. We got 2 more races left. I don't think we're going to talk long about this race. I think basically, do you think an Italian's going to win or not? And that's really the big question here in the Jenny Wiley. And Charlie's shaking his head no already.
See, I think this race is tough, man.
what a field they have put together. I mean, wow, this is a serious field. Jenny Wiley, to me, is the feature race of the day just because of the name recognition. It's a grade 1, guys, $600,000 for the girls. 4-year-olds and up, 1.16 miles. A fantastic race. It's a field of 9 that is deep and talented. There's the Breeders' Cup second runner-up to Tuesday in Italian, Chad and Irad. Chad also has Speak of the Devil here with Pratt. Charlie, we're going to go to you first. Charlie is saying, I don't like this horse coming to the Breeders' Cup. And you know what? I don't know anything about Irish horses either. So let me just go with the horse that that can win. The number 3, Queen Goddess from McCarthy and Sias, who's coming a big win off of her Gulfstream race. Charlie, there's got to be some Gulfstream Park love you're showing here, I'm assuming.
Man, again, I'm just banking, as I've been saying over and over on this show, since I can't be hammering the Tyler Gaffleone horses today. I'm going with my second favorite jockey, Luis Sias, and just banking on him to have a career day for me. But no, I like that this horse, it can be on the lead. It can sit off the pace right off of him a little bit. Consistently has had incredible speed figures in all of its races. Workouts have been decent as well. Certainly wasn't a cheap horse either. Yeah, I didn't want to go with the favorite. I feel like there's going to be enough pace that an Italian might not get as easy as a trip as everyone expects. It could gas out. So I'm
Here's
looking
Queen
for
Goddess right here winning the filly and mare. Go ahead.
Queen Goddess just immediately caught my attention. And I'm being a little risky. I see a lot of love for the 5 who I thought about but didn't know much about, and I didn't even include it on my ticket. There's another long shot that I guess I'll touch at the end that I didn't include either. But yeah, no, Queen Goddess just really excited me. I really don't think it needs a specific trip, and that's another reason why I think it's exciting. And I think you could honestly get it at a decent price. Like at 4-1, I would take that in a heartbeat. I don't know if you'll get that. You might even get better. But yeah, I think that if someone could beat an Italian, I think Queen Goddess could sit right off an Italian and make that move.
Pete, you've got her second. She surprised me last time. I did not have her. She ran great. She got the jump. This is a massive step up in class. The Shantasara is, she's decent. And she ran okay. If Queen Goddess beats this field, I will be super impressed.
Well, when we did our sort of long form write-ups for the Pegasus this year, and this was the horse I had written up on top. I loved in that race for everything Charlie said. I think she's up and coming. Maybe it took her a little longer to reach her top form, but again, you could see when it happened in 2022 at 4 is when they took her off the dirt. They had tried the dirt a couple times. And I mean, she popped a 95 in an off the turf race on dirt, which is fantastic to begin with. Got a little greedy in the Bayakoa, then said, you know what, let's put this horse back on turf, gets a monster win, then runs again, goes 1.5 miles, which maybe was a little too far, tried to be on the lead, then gets the long layoff, comes back and is just even better. Lifetime buyer top 94, lifetime buyer top 100 next time out. I think this one's just improving, maybe living up to that $1.5 million price tag. It's bred to go, bred to go this distance. I love Saez too. I'm with you, Charlie. He's probably my favorite, one of my 4 or 5 favorite jockeys. So I'm an Italian fan. I can't pick against an Italian on this show. That just doesn't work right. An Italian has the pace advantage. So I think she's logical enough to be on top, and she's just awesome. And she's hard to run down. She's tough as nails. So I love an Italian, but I think Queen Goddess is on the up and up and could be a factor in this division throughout the whole year.
Pete, here's my main question in this race. Now, it's a horse race. A lot of shit can happen. Okay, fine. We all know that. An Italian's coming off a layoff. If you're going to beat an Italian, I think it's going to be Saturday, right? And these mares, you never know how they're going to come back. For the Queen Goddess fans, realistically, my issue, how does she win? She's not getting the lead in theory. She's not getting the lead. Are we suggesting that Queen Goddess is going to stalk an Italian and go by and hold off with the Moonlight? I don't see the scenario in which Queen Goddess wins at all. I've got her third. Paul has her absolutely nowhere.
Well, I mean, I could see that. Charlie, I don't know if you want to take that one. What do you think?
I mean, how does Queen Goddess win, Charlie? That's like
the angle
trip-wise.
Yeah, that's the angle I'm taking is what you mentioned. I'm not saying it'll necessarily happen. What I'm saying is, and I'm agreeing with Pete on this, is that Queen Goddess has continued to take steps forward. Again, compared to some of these other classier horses, I know it wasn't against as strong of competition, and I know it didn't happen right away, but it shows it likes the distance. Again, it wasn't a cheap horse for a reason. It's worked decently. And again, I know it doesn't seem necessarily the most realistic, but I do believe it can get that stalk and trip go by. I know trying to say anybody can run with an Italian is completely unrealistic, and this horse isn't going to be able to switch to a closer overnight. But the reality is it has enough early and late pace where I do believe there is a scenario where it can sit off and make a move, and I don't want to just put all my bags in an Italian short price off that kind of layoff basket. So why not take a chance with someone and go with the up and comer?
Charlie, let me help you out with this Euro here. I don't know if you don't like Irish people, or I don't know what your story is, but look, Pete, we have seen this dance many times with Charlie Appleby. And what I love about Appleby and Buick, and Pete, I know you agree with this because we've talked about it. Buick is not, let's break slow. Let's come from 20 lengths back. He gets his horses into the game. She was decent last year. She wasn't anything special last year, but she has experience going around turns in the United States. I watched her last 2 wins in Maidan. Those are Group 2s. I'm not sure they were unbelievable fields, but she's clearly getting better. She has a nice turn of foot, and they're spotted. Pete, they're picking this spot. They could have waited. They could have done a lot of things with this horse, and they're saying, no, we're coming here. And they had to have known that an Italian was going to come here, and they weren't worried at all. I think Buick sits mid-pack that gets that kind of Queen Goddess kind of trip, or maybe even sits right off of an Italian. I agree with Ross Blacker. This is the horse that can absolutely go by an Italian, and she's got recency, Pete, which might be the difference Saturday. Maybe an Italian's a better horse, down the road, or just a better horse in general. But Saturday, I think, will be the day for With the Moonlight, in my opinion.
I mean, I don't have any argument against this horse. I mean, I love this horse. I love Appleby. I love Buick. It's a Godolphin horse. She's been over here and she's won races. I mean, you look though at the buyers. They weren't, like you said, last year. Maybe she wasn't a superstar. Yeah, she wasn't a superstar, but she also wasn't. She wasn't great. She wasn't dominant when she came over. I mean, she lost 2 of the 3, and they weren't the best of fields either. I mean, McCulloch didn't come back to do much. Yep. Hawdy's fine, but nothing special. So I just look at that one as sometimes the Applebys come over and you're like, there's no way this horse is losing. Right. Just towers over it. And again, an Italian has the pace advantage. So
but to your point, an Italian also was only running in the mid-90s. Then she improved too, right? She got
no, she did. That's what I'm saying. You can.
We don't know those buyer numbers in Dubai, but I know watching the visual, she's getting better. There's no question.
She is getting better. She is getting better. But what if an Italian comes back and is better? I mean, we think she's going to.
I have a hard time believing that off the layoff, but maybe. Well, if she's better, then she wins by 4, and this is a stupid conversation.
Well, yeah, I mean, she's fired off. I mean, she fired off layoffs, what is that about 4 months necessarily? Yeah. Look, you see just 2 back, she pops a 104 from a July to October layoff and wins a grade 1, beating Regal Glory, wire to wire, going a mile. So I just think I love an Italian. She's tough as nails. And I mean, I think, to me, I went 3 deep in a race where it's stupid to go 3 deep because they're all such low prices. But I was like, look, I can't split these 3, and I'm going to be pissed if Queen Goddess wins and I don't have her on my ticket, especially if that price floats up.
Well, you'll see with my pick 5, my opinion on Queen Goddess and et cetera. To me, it's a 2-horse race, guys. That's just my opinion. Let's go on to the last race. We got Jim Miller waiting in the bullpen, ready to go here. So let's go to race 11, then we'll show our pick 5s. Race 11, I also have a horse here I like quite a bit. Let me go ahead and switch over to the entries there. It is an allowance optional, claiming 80,000, 6.5. It's for the girls older. There's a bunch of conditions. It's a big field of 12. More line favorite is the 12 Tarabi for Cherie DeVoe and Louis Saez. Pete, you and I are going with the same horse that Charlie does not have anywhere, the number 3 Radio Days. And there's a replay, Pete. I don't know if you watched the replay of last race. We have to show a little bit of the last race. What do you like about Radio Days in the last?
Yeah, I think if you watch that, it's one of those obvious replay, tough trips there where it was a little bit of an odd trip even before she gets blocked in the lane, which we'll see if you show the replay.
She's the 5.
Yeah.
You want to show before she gets blocked?
No, it's not. It's right before it, I think. But
she's in green. She's in between here.
Yeah, you watch here, and she's in between, and it's almost like it's funny. Even the track announcer is like, and Irad didn't like that position, so he sort of pulls her back, and he drops her though pretty significantly. I mean, went from being in between. What is that? The 3 and the 6 to like.
Now this is a perfect trip right now. It's a perfect trip, but watch what happens.
It's gorgeous.
Really
yeah.
Really, go ahead, Pete. Go ahead.
No, you'll see it. I mean, it takes a minute, but right here, watch, she's going to ride right up the ass of the 3.
Right there.
Pull up pretty badly there.
It's like a weird. I don't know if the 3 came in. He was trying to go.
It's hard from the angle because it's on the turn.
I'll show one more time. I think he was trying to go to the outside of the 3. I think the 3 came over a little bit, Pete. Watch the butt and just lost action completely. And but still had momentum, and now he's got to go between, which is fine. I thought ran pretty well after that, but I thought that really cost her, in my opinion.
I mean, you don't know if she gets if that hole opens up and she gets a clean run and clear, she'd obviously would clear the 3 because she did, and then or she would have, you would assume, even though she doesn't wind up beating the 3.
Pete, by the way, she
it digs in, and again, I don't. Again, this is a horse that hasn't won since 2021 in her first 2 races, so it's not like it's a lock or anything, but you could look on it, you can get an excuse there. Irad's up again, that's always a plus. You're second off a pretty long layoff, so hopefully maybe that one was the fitness race, and now you're getting second off. Now you're getting a horse that's a little sharper. I do have go for 13 in dirt sprints at Keeneland, so if that scares you off a little bit, it's not a huge sample size, but you don't like when there's a 0. You don't like when there's a 0 in the front. I don't care how many there are. So, yeah, I like the horse. Don't love the horse, but I mean, you're looking at a horse that was in the Black Eyed Susan, the Beaumont, the Forward Gal, so was trying
really
tough competition.
She's been staked. Now she's in allowance. And Pete, there's a lot of speed in this race. We don't have time to go through it in detail, but there's a lot of early speed. One of those early speeds, the last horse we're going to talk about, and then we're going to go to our picks. Charlie's got a very plausible horse, number 12 Tarabi. She's also been staked. She's got a wide post and is off the layoff. Those are my only concerns. I have her in second. She's the most talented horse probably in the field, Charlie.
Yeah, for me, this is, in my eyes, other than the horse's debut, the weakest field the 12 has gone up against. Consistently good figures, good workouts. Again, that's a big thing for me is when a horse is coming off a big layoff like that, is it starting to show some decent works? You see the 47-1 and 48-2. I think it is. Again, Luis Saez going back to the well over and over again. I'm banking on him having a career day. But yeah, I think this horse is dynamic. I think, again, as you see with the time form, has good early and late pace. I think it is the clear-cut best horse in the field on paper. The layoff and post are the only questions. And I don't know, maybe I'm misinterpreting something for not considering the 3, but for me, this is a 2-horse race, and I know I'm a little biased. But the only other horse here that even excited me against the 12 and I have on my ticket is the 2, simply because it's a Wesley horse that has shown that it has a lot of pace and has also worked really well with its last workup being an absolute bullet with that 59-4. So that's the only other horse to me that even excites me at all. I'm surprised that there wasn't a little more hype. I can't believe, Howard, you didn't have the 2 anywhere. I think Top Gun Girl could be a horse that goes right to the lead and doesn't look back. I really like this Wesley Wardle.
So I have her as a B, Charlie, which means like a secondary horse in my pick 5. There's a lot of early speed in this race. And the other thing I think we'll mention here, and then we'll show our picks. And this is a really good lesson, Charlie, for you and younger handicappers, less experienced handicappers. And Pete knows this well. Don't always get carried away with works. If you have the money or the time to buy a workout report, like not every 59-4 is the same, because Pete, sometimes they're ridden handily and asked quite a bit, and other times they're just breezing. And again, workouts, watch XBTV, Charlie, or anyone out there, if you can get, if you know about XBTV, they show workouts on there. I watch them all the time. I'm sure Jim Miller watches some workouts on XBTV as well. Just point of fact, Charlie, but she's got a shot. There's just a lot of speed in the race, Pete, so that's why I was against. It was
I'm not against. Yeah, I mean, I had the top 3, and I think I have on my ticket, if I remember correctly. But if it was a late cut, no, I do. I have the 2 on there. I mean, and it's Ward too it's Ward in a sprint race. I mean, even though it's I don't think it's anybody's a lock. I think there is a ton of speed, and I think because the 12 is off the layoff and that's the 12 hole, then you're talking about a horse that maybe would be better if it had better post and maybe had a race under her belt. She maybe would lay over this field, but doesn't because of those factors. So now I think it brings a few back into the fray.
I agree. By the way, we have a lot of people watching. Thanks for watching. Do not go anywhere when we're done. Jim Miller is about to come on to talk about a great late pick 4 at Hawthorne and some other things. And Hawthorne's been fantastic with their meet, and they're bringing more fresher horses and big fields, and don't go anywhere. Pete's pick 5. Here we go, guys. Write this down, because Pete, I put it on Twitter. If this thing doesn't pay 4 digits, I'd be shocked. I think this could be a 5-digit pick 5. This thing could be big on Saturday, and it's been sort of chalky at Keeneland if you've been paying attention so far. It won't be that way Saturday. I really don't. Pete's pick 5, 4-7-8 with 4-10-11 with 3-5 with 2-3-5 with 2-3-12, $81, Pete. No singles anywhere.
No, that was the thing. I couldn't come up with a single that I loved. I tried to come up. I wanted to at least have a little bit of a price in each race. I think the first leg just went a little, 3 deep. But the second leg is where, if you get that little jewel horse home who we talked about, or Ouvre, but that's a race where this is one of those pick 5 sequences where we talk about where it's like, hey, no double-digit odds horses won. And it still pays huge because you get like a 9-2, you get a 5-1, you get a 3, and the fields are big and the fields are deep.
Absolutely.
So, I think the only other thing, I went too deep, threw out Disarm, threw out Arabian Lion in the Lexington, and then went with the 3 chalks because I don't want to lose to an Appleby horse. I can't lose if an Italian wins, and I'd be pissed if Queen Goddess wins and I don't hit my ticket.
I know. I feel the Queen Goddess loyalty there. I understand.
I mean, I can't lose a ticket if she wins the race.
All right, Charlie's inaugural pick 5. Will Charlie ever be back on the flagship show? We'll find out if this thing hits. Just kidding, Charlie. Charlie, you've done a great job, by the way, tonight. Awesome job, man. Charlie's pick 5. How about a shout out for Charlie in the chat for coming on first time? When I was Charlie's age, I didn't know shit about horse racing. I mean, Charlie, you're really doing a great job. 1-7-8 with 3-4-5, 11-12. With 8-11, with 2-3, with 2-12, $90 ticket. Charles like, ooh, I get to spend 90. Isn't that nice? You probably wants to spend more. No singles also for you, Charlie.
Yeah, so I mean, as you were starting to touch on in the second race that we covered, when you hinted at the 11-12, I think it's a very deep and talented field. I also do believe, I could be wrong, I think I had the 5 somewhere because I think that's First Mission. I think that is First Mission. Which race was First Mission?
First Mission is the third leg.
Oh, that's the third leg. Yeah,
that's what you sent me, Charlie, but maybe I made a mistake. I could look back.
Okay, I'll double check that. I apologize because I know First Mission. I can't gas up a horse that much and not have it there, so I'll double check that. Yeah, and then I started to get really short late. I really do like that 12 horse, but I wanted to take a chance and have Wesley there somewhere. Again, I also really like an Italian, but same kind of thing with Pete. I just I feel obligated to the 3 horse in that race. If it somehow proves us right, Pete and I got to be in this together. I'm
We're
not
going to be right, man.
3. Need it somewhere. And then one horse I just did want to shout out that isn't on my ticket, but if you want to bet the race on its own, is White Frost. All I'm saying is pay attention to that horse somewhere. White Frost. Remember the name. I watched it at Gulfstream from our show. It's a hell of a closer. if that race goes into shambles, I think that could be a price that could cause some damage somewhere.
Charlie, you're exactly right. I didn't see the 5 in the. You had the 5 in the email, and it was disguised by another number. You're exactly right. My bad. You did.
No, you're good. No problem. But yeah, no, I've definitely had a great time. I'd love to end up coming back on the show if the people in the chat want me. I'd be more than happy to give this another crack. Certainly gave me a tough first car, but I've loved every minute of being on this. And yeah, folks, if you want to be bold on my ticket at all, single the 5. That's my bold take. If you want to have one, is when first mission goes on at one point, single the 5. If you really want a big payout and you're worried about it getting too chalky, that's my one big risk to encourage people to take.
Tom Espinosa wants you to interview Wesley on the show. Maybe we should do that.
I'd love to do that. That would be a great time. And he'd love to see what I'm taking with him.
All right. So, Charlie, last thing, Jim, I appreciate your patience, man. We're almost done. Jim's like, all good. I'm not doing anything right now. Charlie, we do something very traditional on this show. We have a lot of traditions. Pete, because you and I are not Paul, we didn't have to have any ridiculous drinks for wrong gender calls and all that nonsense.
We did good today. I don't think we messed any up. Yeah.
We do need Paul for that, but we do have a tradition, Charlie, as you well know. The tradition is before I give my pick 5, I have to ask you, Charlie, did Howard single anyone in his pick 5? And if he did, whom?
Oh, God. I feel like if you did, it has to be the race with an Italian, only because there's 2 like big top dogs that
with the Moonlight. You think I singled the Irish horse?
That's what I'm going to go with. Yes.
Well, you hate Italians. We know that. We know you hate Italians. So you know.
Yeah, and I think you also wanted to stick it to Pete, and also you really didn't like our 3 horses. So yes, I think you wanted to come after I think you wanted to come after me and Pete and say, how can I make a statement to the 2 guys that always make the bold statements? That's my
Queen Goddess has no chance. There's no way Queen Goddess is winning.
You just made me the biggest Queen Goddess fan. I know I'm a Wesley Ward guy.
There's listen. I'm wrong all the time. I'm right many times. If Queen Goddess wins, I will come on Bettin Boozin and say, Charlie, I'm a complete knucklehead. And I'll tell Pete next week I was completely. I will ask Jim Miller if Queen Goddess has a chance to beat With the Moonlight and in Italian. Okay, Charlie, anyway, my pick 5. Now you guys are getting me angry. You're getting under my skin. I got a bad stomach this week.
Night. That's what they said Pegasus Day when we did the show too. So
yeah, but this is a whole different ball game altogether. Okay, anyway, who did I single With the Moonlight? No, Charlie, I went ballsy. I singled First Mission, baby. That's right, in the Lexington.
You actually backed me.
Of course, I love this horse. 1, 4, 7, 8 with 3, 4, 5, 10, 12 with First Mission the 5 with the 2 obvious in Italian and With the Moonlight. And with 2, 3. See, I got the 2. I got the Wesley Ward in the last race, Charlie. So take it easy.
I'm surprised no love to the 11 when you gassed it up. I'm surprised no love to the 11 horse.
In the last race?
No, in the second race we covered, the one that you mentioned. Which one was the 11?
Little Jewel.
Yeah, Little Jewel.
Nah, it's too tough a spot. I like underneath, Charlie. I like underneath. With 2, 3, 9, 12. It's an $80 ticket. Pete and Charlie, if you're not going to single in the Lexington, you got to go. I don't know, many deep to me. I hate to use 2 deep in the Jenny Wiley. I mean, you're going to 2 lower price horses, but maybe not. I mean, I think an Italian's going to be what, 4 to 5, and with the Moline it's going to be 5 to 2, or so I don't know. Jim. Oh boy, yes. I don't know if you guys saw the private chat, but anyway,
I did. I'm very.
We got to bring him on right now. Anyway, that's my pick 5, guys. Before we let Pete and Charlie go, we got to bring him on from Hawthorne Racecourse. Does a great job. Charlie, Pete, stay on this for like 1 more minute. Jim Miller, who's your pick in the Jenny Wiley, Jim?
Oh, Queen Goddess for sure.
What?
For sure.
Get out of here, Jim.
For sure. I mean, great minds think alike. That side of the screen, this side of the screen over here, great minds.
Tell me how she wins, Jim. You're a great handicapper and you've been around horse racing. How does she win? Honestly,
don't you sit just off in Italian the whole way around and then get first run on anybody that's going to come from off the pace?
And go buy an Italian and hold off With the Moonlight.
Sure. Why not?
But both of them are not going to fire, or Queen Goddess is just like the next coming?
Do you have to be the next coming? The horse ran a pretty solid race in that last out.
That's one of the better Euros that's going to race the United States. And an Italian was almost an Eclipse Award winner, Jeff.
But this is a horse. This is a horse that is progressing coming into this race.
Okay,
everything progression-wise is heading in the right direction.
Yep.
And I'm not going to take even money on an Italian 4 to 5, whatever it's going to be. Queen Goddess is going to be a much better price. Hey, I'll give you kudos. I like First Mission as well. I think that horse will be very solid in the Lexington.
You can stay on, Jim.
You get a 50-50 there, Howard.
All right.
Jim and I think alike. I like to hear this.
Yeah. All right. And Jim, say hello to Charlie and vice versa. Jim, you know Jim Miller
well. Charlie, how old are you?
I'm currently 20 going on 21. We're almost there where I can actually bet and booze.
Okay. So that's a good – I started in the industry when I was 17. So the first time they put me on the air at Arlington Park way, way, way back in the day, they had no idea how old I was. So I like that you speak with confidence, you do your homework, you do a great job, and you're going to do – a lot of really good things.
How about that, Jim? When I was that age, I mean, he knows 50 times more, as does Kyle Roscoe and Patrick. I got a lot of great young guys on this show. I'm really proud of Jim.
Awesome.
All right, Pete and Charlie, before we get into more serious arguments, now we like to have fun, guys, on the show. Great job. We're going to let you guys go. Good luck this Saturday, both of you, and we'll be in contact from Keeneland, hopefully with some good news, guys. I think Pete, you want to say something real quick?
No, I was just going to say, hey Jim, I 2 for 2 in the Hawthorne online free contest today. 2 chalks, but 2 for 2 without even handicapping, just picking names. I'm probably better that way, apparently. Well, so I'm trying to climb my way back up the charts after the first few races. So,
and the cool thing is, it's a long contest, so that's the thing that'll change. Yeah. And I'll tell you, once we get on the turf, usually those are our turf races in the card. So we try to separate them 3 races apart. Yeah. So if we can stick with races 4 and 7 on the grass, it's going to help the contest for sure. But
I like
it was a fun day today. The cool thing, guys, and it's been really weird, we've kind of found our spot on Thursdays because if you notice, Pete, the whole second half of the card, there was nobody else running in the country.
No,
I mean, we were just sitting out there on an island and had another huge handle day. So it was really good to get a lot of eyes on the product.
Yeah, congrats on that for sure.
No, the handle's been great. Pete, Charlie, especially, great job, man. We'll definitely have you back. You guys have a great weekend. Take care.
See you, everybody.
All right, bye-bye, guys. All right, Jim, we got to switch over. I'm really proud of, I'm a teacher. I work with, young guys and teenagers for 26 years. For him to come on first time on our flagship show, he's on Bettin and Boozin. But, when you're matching the well, I was going to say matching the wits of myself and Pete, but that's sort of a low bar. So I don't know.
Oh,
but,
wow. Come on.
It's nice to see. We need to get the younger, the Gen Zs have to get involved in this game, Jim. We're not going to be around forever.
Well, and that's the thing that's how I got started. So it's interesting. I started at Arlington Park actually in guest services, and I kind of fell into this position a little bit by luck. I was working the window well right next to the press box at Arlington, and Joe Christofek was working in the media department at the time. And Joe and I got to know each other, got to talking got to meeting one another. And then Arlington Million time that year, they needed help in the press box. So I shifted over there to help them write bios on horses in the Million, get quotes, that kind of stuff. And I never left. And it was one of those things where they gave me some opportunities on air. They found that I was pretty comfortable and I was learning and willing to learn, and just took those opportunities and kind of ran with it. And tell you, 30 some years later, it's 30 years in the industry for me now. So it's been one of those things that it's a lot of fun. I tell everybody I get paid to go to races for a living.
No, I mean, if I wasn't doing what I'm doing, I'd love to do what you do. Sean Kane, I will see you. I'm going to be at Keeneland Gym this weekend, as I mentioned, playing the Grade 1 Gamble, and that card Saturday is fantastic. There, Matt Miller wants to say super helpful. Janet Fable enjoys the humor. Appreciate that. This is for you, Jim Miller. Jim Pillar's help. I had a tough day today at Hawthorne. It sure helped your handle, though. I'm sure Jim appreciates that, Jim Miller. Looking for some Sunday help, though maybe after 2-2, I should get Pete's advice. I'm not sure. Oh, going to
in the contest, 2 for 2 for Pete. Yep.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. All right, it's warm now, so things start to change a little bit. And the track started to even out a little bit, but it was still a little bit front end because we had those winds out of the west. So those are those headwinds in the stretch. And I always talk about that time and again because it is a long, full quarter of a mile stretch. Headwind in the stretch usually tends to help those speed type of horses because closers just have to work that much harder to make up ground running into the wind. So we always talk about that throughout the course of the card. If anybody ever has any questions, you see my Twitter handle there. Shoot me a tweet and I'll make sure I answer that for you.
Yeah, I'll make that bigger. Let me put you on the at Hawthorne Jim.
Yep.
If you follow me on Twitter, I tweet his name out quite a bit in Hawthorne as well. Might get some rain this weekend, by the way.
Yep.
We'll see what the track's gonna be like on Sunday. Let's go to the pick 4 again. This is the Sunday pick 4 at Hawthorne. They only race on Thursdays and Sundays. Great timing again by the Carey family to isolate themselves in a positive way here. You can see the rollings on the bottom of the screen there are all the picks for all the 4 races. Jim's going 7. We don't usually show the PPs due to time constraints and other things, but obviously people can look at the PPs. Race 5, Jim is going 7-5-6 to start the pick 4, which starts in race 6 at about 5:45 Eastern time. So you are going with the number 7, Apollo You Anywhere, a Florida bred for Quinones and Santiago, 4-1 morning line. And Jim makes the morning lines. For people that are not familiar, Jim is the one who also makes the morning lines. Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, and when I make the line, I handicap without looking at the line because I do not ever want to be influenced by the line. The line's how I think the betting public's going to bet it. I may handicap a race completely different. So take that into regard too. The Sunday card, because there's a potential for Rain Howard, is the reason that when we get to my pick 4 ticket, you'll see why I spread a little bit here. But the 7 Apollo You Anywhere, the last couple of starts have been against much tougher company. That starter company is good company. Those are good, solid runners. Long, Tall Woman, a really good winner back on opening day. The last start out, though, the horse took a lot of action and didn't run in the mud. So that was the reason that I did have to spread a little bit if it does come up wet. They're talking about rain possibly earlier in the day. The track does drain very well. The question is just when the rain stops. But Apollo You Anywhere was the one I went to on top in the 6th.
And then you want to quickly talk about either your second or third choice, Jim, and then we'll move on to the next.
Yeah, Snooty's the other one that's interesting to me.
Snooty!
It's interesting to me for the fact that Jim Watkins is a guy that he's the president of the Illinois HBPA down at Fairmount Park.
Okay, yeah, I'm not familiar with him.
Okay, but he has very good stock for Fairmount, meaning that he can run there and run very well. But he comes up, he's hitting the board at over a 50% rate at Hawthorne, but you're going to see horses every once in a while for him sneak off to Churchill Downs during their meet. Give them a look when they go there because he spots the horses very well. They're always double-digit odds because nobody really knows the name, but these are horses that can be competitive on higher circuits. So watch out for a horse like Snooty, who ran really well in that last out, but Jim Watkins' horses have been running well all meet long.
Love the name. I might be act like a 10-year-old and bet the horse just give the name. Let's go.
So you'll love the name of my pick in the next race too, then.
Okay. Let's go. Did I start in the wrong?
No, you're good. Yep.
Oh, I just have it written down wrong at the bottom of the screen then.
Yeah,
it does start in race 6, correct?
Race 6. Yep, race 6.
Okay, I need to. All right. It starts in race 6.
So you're okay. 7-5-6 for race 5 is actually my race 6 pick. So you're okay.
I just wanted. So we're now on race 7 then, correct?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. While I fix the banners or try to fix the banners.
You fix the banners. I'll run through the race, Howard. How about that?
Okay, well, I'll tell you what. You know what? Oh, no, it should say race 6 and not race 5, right?
Correct.
The picks are correct.
Yeah, the picks are correct. Yeah, you're good.
The race number is wrong, correct?
Yeah, you're all right.
It's 6, 7, 8, 9, Jim. Is that right?
Yes, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Oh, okay. My bad. Okay.
I know you're back into school after spring break and that, so it takes a little bit of time to adjust. You're getting ready for a contest. It's okay.
You know, I'm not good with numbers. I mean, we've talked about this many times. All right. There we go. Okay. So, guys, the picks are right. I just had the race number wrong.
Yep.
Modazzle.
Yep.
Sherry Weinbaugh and Cologne. What do you like?
Here's the thing. You're coming out of a race in that last out where the winner was a repeat winner right out of that spot. This is a horse coming in from much tougher races at Gulfstream Park. Inside draw here. Since that last start, a little bit of time off, but a work over the track. And you talked about Works a little bit earlier. Watching Works is important. The horse only worked 3/8 of a mile, galloped out very strong, not only a half mile, but ended up going almost 5/8 of a mile. Went through the entire turn past the wire. Looked really sharp. Inside draw, I like the chances of Modazzle. I think there's enough speed in here to set things up for someone to come from a bit off of it. So Modazzle should come running. The 6 hurt so bad as a horse, I should be able to close up some ground late too, but I think Modazzle at a little bit better price.
You've talked a lot about the rail when it's cold and et cetera. If it's wet, I mean, you're not Karnak, and we don't know exactly. In general, if it is a little bit wet, how would you say the rail would play?
So for us on the rail, the track actually has a pretty good crown from the middle, kind of going down towards the rail. So if it's really wet, then things wash down and kind of slog down the inside. If it's muddy and sealed, though, then you're just fine because we have the limestone base underneath for the harness track, and everything just sinks right through the dirt to the limestone and shoots right off the racetrack.
Okay, so but people need to pay attention, obviously, to see what's going to happen there. Race 8 is again. Jim, people think, oh, it's Hawthorne. It's, maybe the quality isn't as good. Blah blah blah. You've got an optional. We talked about a horse last week that was bought that almost broke a track record, etc.
Yeah.
So again, look at this, guys. We got allowance optional claiming 40,000. These are real nice horses. The purse is 33. The purse would be, again, under, we're not going to get into the details, but I mean, this purse could easily be 60 or 70
Sure.
at many other places. Obviously, sure. You've got a field of 6 here. Moreline favorite is the number 5 Bandit Swanson for Hernandez Lascano. I'm assuming this is the feature race of the day.
Yeah.
They're going, okay, they're going a mile and a 70, and you are going with the 2 Dreamkeeper for an excellent horseman in Michelle Boyce and Constantine Roman.
She's really good. This is a word race, Howard, where the horse that can throw everything for a loop is Lavender Earl. Only for the fact that Lavender Earl's really the only other pace in the race. If that one goes out there and pushes things along with Dreamkeeper, it's going to possibly compromise the chances of Dreamkeeper. But if Dreamkeeper is able to kind of shake loose like this one did in that last out, then Dreamkeeper is a horse that just cruises along on the front end and should be very
super
tough.
Saver. A super saver.
Yeah, bred to run all day. I mean, the distance isn't going to be an issue. The horse is 6 of 7 on the board at Hawthorne. I think it's the right trip. The 2 Armando Hernandez horses both have to come from out of it. So if the track is a little wet and it's a little bit more front, it's going to make it a little bit harder on those 2 horses. But I think Dreamkeeper gets an excellent trip there in race 8.
Yeah, I mean, and again, Michelle Boyce, I can't say enough. What are those like? It's like black and gold silks, right? Or black and yellow.
Yep.
Love those.
Looks
silks.
like a little bumblebee going around the racetrack there.
She's had a lot of really, for people who don't know Chicago racing, Michelle Boyce is an excellent trainer. I'm surprised she doesn't have, better stock nationwide, or she hasn't been traveling with some of her horses, because she's like, I don't mean this in any demeaning way, but like the female Chris Block. I mean, she's excellent.
Good. Yeah, very good with
really
turf horses too. Very good with horses on the grass. What I like, she definitely takes her time, makes sure they're ready. She's never going to run a horse saying this horse needs a race. Every horse is going to go in there ready to run that day.
For sure. That was the penultimate leg. The closeout leg is a 62.5 claimer, fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and older. It's an N2X. So there's a condition 62.5. You've got a field of 10. Boy, you guys aren't making it easy. The racing secretary there, as usual on most racetracks in the last race. Moreline favorite is the number 6, Queen of the North. So you have second. You're going to go with Maiden Rock, a Minnesota bred, 6-1. Nice price maybe to close out your pick 4 here.
Yeah, and in recent years, people would say, I guess not recent years, but maybe 5 years ago, they would say, wait, a Minnesota bred, this horse has no shot. Minnesota breds have actually gotten much better and done very well. We've seen horses like Love the Nest of Joel Burns, who's very good. Dr. Oscar of Tim Padilla, who was actually very competitive at Oaklawn Park. This horse, of course, isn't nearly the caliber of those, but what I'm saying is Minnesota breds can be competitive. And this is a horse that actually ran a pretty good race in that last out. Settled back early on. That was a track that was all speed that day. And this was one of the few horses that closed up some ground in that spot. But since adding blinkers and adding Lasix back, has been a much better racehorse. The added 16th of a mile is going to help. I'm only going to go too deep when we look at my ticket there, but this is one of those that I think you get a nice little price and something that maybe rounds out your ticket for a pretty good value.
Matt Miller has handicapped this sequence and likes Dreamkeeper.
He's a smart man and a great last name.
Absolutely. That's why. Is a nice horse. I'll give you another Minnesota bred that's really good, the Alligator Hunter.
Yep.
You familiar with that horse? Really nice. Turf sprinter who upset Chessmaster in a race on NHC weekend and at a capper, and I was so pissed, Jim, from someone who knows Canterbury and has covered Canterbury, that I did not use the Alligator Hunter in that race. If I had, I probably would have literally won about $5,000 more in the contest, but I didn't think he classed up, but he did in that Tampa race last month.
Well, and the thing that people don't realize too is you're going to get a string from Robertino Diodoro over there. Robertson is going to be up there. Joel Burns had some very nice horses. They're up there. It's good competitive racing up there, and they have a very good turf course. And it's one of those things where it's actually too bad they had to cut back some days this year, but always a good solid meet. And the quality of racehorse has definitely improved at Canterbury.
No, it's terrific. And I love Peter Galassi. Paul Allen, I've said it 1,000 times.
What a good
man. One of the best and most underrated race callers in the country. He is a joy to listen to. And even though I'm, of course, a big Bears fan, he is fantastic on Minnesota play-by-play also. He's a character for sure. Your $24 late pick 4 is at the bottom of the screen, Jim. Everyone write it down if you want to cash on Saturday. Matt Miller, are you paying attention? 5, 6, 7, 8 with 1, 6 with 2, 4, 5. with 5-6. You love Dreamkeeper, but you're not singling him, correct?
No, I'm not going to single him in there. And like I said, it's really only because of the fact of a horse like Lavender Earl, and if somebody's going to go out there and push things along on the front end and the race falls apart. One note for the Sunday card for anybody that is betting Hawthorne. The first leg, I threw the 8 in there. No, Nanette, no. This one's from the barn of trainer Elliott Sullivan. Sullivan's shipping horses in for our cards. And when he ships in, he'll send them in a group of 3 or 4, and usually they all run very well. So he's got some horses earlier on in the card on Sunday that you may want to take a look at too, but they're all going to be decent prices. They're usually kind of maybe 3rd, 4th choice type of race horses, but I expect them all to run well. But yeah, 4 deep in the first leg, 2 deep in the second leg. You saw with Dreamkeeper's race, they'll go 3 deep, and then just those 2 in the finale, but hopefully we get the 6-1 shot home.
I love it. I'm going to be playing it on Sunday from Keeneland. I'm excited to do that. I also have one of my horses I have a small piece of is running at Aqueduct Race 5, the number 2 on Sunday. Race 5, number 2, Salivo Spritz, named after a great restaurant in Saratoga Springs named Salivo. So anyway, if you're a fan of New York, check out Salivo Spritz making his debut. Race 5, the 2 horse. Jim, before I let you go, and I appreciate your patience there waiting for us, thoughts on who's your Derby horse right now? Of course, you could see on my name tag, I'm the president of the Tapatrace fan club, and you know I have financial backing on that horse. Any thoughts from last week's Derby final, major Derby preps? Has anything changed your mind? Who is your Derby horse as of right now? 2 Phils, right?
You know what? If 2 Phils is going to be 20-1, I'm probably going to use the horse. I was much more impressed by the race at Tapatrace. I was very happy to actually see that horse come back. Like I mentioned last week, I'm leaving Forte completely off my tickets.
Wow.
I thought the Santa Anita Derby was the most impressive of the races. Really? I don't like the fact that the Japanese horse doesn't get in. You run second in a 100-point race and you're not in. It's a function of going to 5th place money. But it's also a function of something that's very good in racing, the fact that all these horses have remained healthy. So that's a very important thing. That's what we like to see in racing. So, but yes, I'm going to be cheering for 2 Phils for sure. I'm going to use Tapatrace on my ticket, but I can tell you I'm not going to have Forte on there. So we'll see. It's probably going to be those couple of horses. I'm going to throw some more in. I may go 5 or 6 in there and just kind of box them up and have some massive odds and just try to hit big.
We'll be getting you on. Of course, post positions matter, workouts. There could be defections. A lot of things can happen. And bet the farm on Queen Goddess Saturday, correct?
I not bet the farm, but come on, I'm going to bet the horse in the race for sure.
Bet the couch.
Probably going to be the 3rd choice, don't you think? 7-2, 4-1.
Queen Goddess, yes.
Yeah. So 7-2, 4-1 to me is a value play over an Italian. Is probably going to be even money in that spot.
It's definitely a value play, and she's improving. I love Michael McCarthy. Jim. Great job, man. We really appreciate it. Again, Hawthorne Racecourse, they run on Thursdays and Sundays. It's a great product. If you live in the Chicago area, make sure you go there. And Jim, also, I want to say we are planning a little outing out there. I've got to talk to the powers that be for the HHH Racing podcast, and you're going to come up and have some beverages with us there up on the roof or the patio, whatever is going on there. So we'll plan that out for this summer as well. Jim, take care, man. Appreciate it. I'm actually going to take you off the screen. I'll go solo at the end. Have a great weekend and good luck on Saturday and Sunday, Jim.
You got it. Good luck to you. Have a great time out there at Keeneland.
All right, take care. Bye-bye, Jim. Thanks. All right, what a fun show we've had, ladies and gentlemen. Really, it's been a great time. I had plenty of enthusiasm tonight because I always try to bring the enthusiasm, but I've been under the weather. I had a bad stomach flu thing going on from Friday to Tuesday. It was not pretty at all. And so I saved up a lot of energy for the show tonight and for my trip tomorrow to Keeneland. I'm really excited. Hopefully I can find some winners in the contest on Saturday in the Grade 1 Gamble. It's been a lot of fun. Really appreciate it. Again, please hit that subscribe button. If you're watching, you've not subscribed, we are desperately close to 2,000 subscribers. Smash that like button also. That would really help the YouTube algorithm send people to the show, and also, of course, the notification bell so that you will not miss any new content. For everyone who's been on the show, I appreciate it. This has been your host, Howard Kravitz, in episode 248 of the HHH Racing Podcast. Crush your bets Saturday Keeneland and Sunday at Hawthorne Racecourse. Take care, everyone. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
habits. If you have not followed his Triple H horse racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.